Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Hey, in our groups there's a girl named Kristen, and she purchased some stickers and was having a hard time using them in Cricut Design Space. She sent the information to me. I purchased them too, and I couldn't get them cut apart nicely in Cricut Design Space either. But this is what I was able to come up with using Silhouette and then bringing the stickers into Cricut Design Space. So you may be wondering, well, those don't really look like stickers to me. Well, remember, if we go down here to where it says blank canvas, click on that and come up here, we can change the color behind our image. So when I change the color to black, now you can see how the stickers are. Each one of these is individual. They have an offset on them and they look fabulous. If we go to make it, they're going to be a print then cut, and it's going to work perfectly just like this. So how did we do this? Well, first let's start at the website where these were purchased. I think it's a really fun website. So it's right here. It's called Jubilant Studio, and it's made by a gal named, where did her thing? Okay, Jenico. She says that she's a child of God, a daughter, sister, wife, and a great supporter for no-kill animal shelters. So she goes on to tell about how she started creating arts for Christian churches and that kind of thing. But she said just in 2015 and 2019, all the money I earned from Jubilant Studio in and out of Etsy has been donated to no-kill animal shelter. I think that's really cool. But anyway, let's go back to her shop. So if you look here, she's got a lot of really cool looking things, and she's devoted it to being Christian things. So these are really cool stickers. And the one that Kristen got was this one right here, Bible Journaling Digital Stickers. Look, they're pretty inexpensive, right? So I went ahead and bought this one so I could play with it and help Kristen. But I just think there's so many cute ones here. I thought you might be interested, especially if you like to do Bible journaling or that kind of thing, or card making that you might like to have, some interesting things. So you can see how these are all kind of together, and I guess what she expects you to do is cut them apart and use them. But I'm going to show you, unless I've misunderstood something here, but I'm going to show you how you can use these in Bible journaling or any kind of stickers situations. So let's go to Silhouette, and here I am, and this is the one that Kristen bought and I also purchased because we were trying to figure out how to break it apart. And as I said, I could not even use any of the tools in Cricut to do it. Okay, I started off making this a little bit more difficult than what it needed to be. I came over here and got the knife tool, and again I'm using the business edition. You must use that if you're going to use this in Cricut. But I got the knife tool and I unchecked auto apply right up here, and I left it solid, outline, and poly. So then what I did was I traced around one of these items. So I got all the way around it and did that. And now, since auto apply wasn't selected, I have to say apply now. So what that did was it cut that right out of this page. So then the next thing I did was I came over here to the trace area again, and this time I said trace by color, and that's this right here. And I did like this, perfect, right? And I said trace and detach. So there we go, we're left with just the flower. Then I took the flower and I wanted an offset on it. So I said offset, and I changed the offset color to white. Oops, to white. And I turned off this line color by changing it to white. Okay, so then I grouped both of these together, and that was the beginning of what I thought was the best way to do this for Cricut. But then I noticed this. If I undo all of these, and by the way, there's this fast undo button right here, and I can go over here to the right hand side and go all the way back to the beginning, and it just did it. Everything's been undone. So here's what I discovered we could do. Come over here to the trace tool, select the trace area, and then just trace the whole thing. And I'm going to up my threshold because notice some of these things aren't totally, covered. So I want to have a total outline around them. There we go. Okay. As much as I can make an outline without having them too jagged looking. So let's scroll back out and see how that looks. Okay, that looks like I did pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say trace and detach. This might take a moment because there's a lot to do. All right, and now I can take this white piece away, click on it and delete, and look at this. I can start selecting out all of these things. Now this one will have to have a little work done to it extra, but look at these. They're perfect. And if I would like to put a little offset around, now this one I got to be careful with. Whoops, let's just undo. If they have more than one part, I want to grab both of them together and move them. So this one I'm going to group. These are separate. So this takes no time whatsoever. This one's, let's see, oh, that one worked pretty good. Let's move him out. Lost that little piece, but I don't really need it. So the only one that's really given me fits, well, these letters down here, let's see. I'm going to group this together, so I right-click and group. I'm going to group all of this together, right-click and group after I select it all. And there's a little bit of fits for that one too. This one should be fine, this one's fine, and this one I've got to group together. Okay, so let me put this one back here. So these two are a little bit weird, okay? Well, actually, I think they could all be considered a bit weird. So what I'm going to do is this now. I am going to add an offset to every single one of these, okay, all at one time. So I'm going to grab all of them. I'm going to come over here to the offset panel and say offset. And that's putting an offset around every single one of these, as you may be able to see. I'm going to change the offset to white. I'm going to change the line color to white. Okay. What you have to do before you move anything is you've got to grab it and group it with the offset. And that sort of helps. And then grab this and group. Like that. Okay, I'm still not crazy about that. There's some junk left on here, so I just drag my mouse over to get these little boxes. You see how it's selecting things that are there we really can't see. But, okay, let's look at these. Scroll, oopsie. That's another thing you have to do. You have after you do this, let me scroll in some so you can see. After you do this, there's an offset and there's an image. An offset and an image. So what I usually do is go through here, click on the offset and the image by drawing a box around, hit Control on my keyboard or Command and G for group. So right now there are two pieces. If I scroll or draw a box around both pieces, hit Control or Command and G. Now they're one piece and I can move them like that. So I just go through here and do the same thing for all of these. Just Command or Control and G for group. Of course, you could, if you wanted to, come up here and go to Object, Group for each one. Grab these two, come up here to Object and Group. But if you'll notice, let's scroll over this way a little bit. If you'll notice, when you go to Object and Group, it does tell you what the keyboard shortcut is, and it's Control G or Command G. So that's together. Okay, this one right here I might like to change just a little bit, and I'll show you why. If I take this piece off, notice there's holes in here. My machine's going to try to cut those holes, and I really don't want it to cut those holes. So let's scroll out a little bit. What I'm going to do, whoops, I didn't grab Control G those. So I got to put these together perfectly, and I'm going to grab them both and come up here to center, and then I'll say Control G. Okay. Now this one, as I said, I don't like these holes. So I'm going to say right click and say release the compound path. Notice that put little boxes around all the pieces. Then I'm going to right click and say weld. And now it's just one piece. Furthermore, what I could do, see how these go on here? What I could do if I scroll in is to make it so my machine isn't going to have to cut way down in here. And to do that, I double click on this image, and that gives me these little boxes called nodes. If I don't want it to cut down to this node, I can click on it, makes it white, which means it's active, and I can delete it. And notice what that does. It makes a more rounded curve. Double click again, click on this node, delete, delete. There must be another one there. Okay, what about this spot? Yeah, we might as well get rid of that. So I can click on that node, delete, and click on this one, delete. And you can just go through here wherever you want to and delete some of these nodes that you don't think are necessary. But that's up to you. So let's scroll back out, and then I would bring this piece back over here, grab both, and come up here to center. And then while they're both still selected, say Control G for group. Okay, so let's just, or I'll continue grouping these together and I'll show you what's next. Okay, I know some of you are probably thinking out there, do I have to do these one by one? You really don't. So I have these three things here, and remember I said I'd probably have to fix this leafy one because of the white in there, but I really don't need to do that because it's going to be white anyway because of the offset. But I could just grab all three of these things and say offset, and it put an offset around each one. I could change each one to white, change the line color to white just so it doesn't show up right now. But I still don't like the way that looks, right? So let me go back a minute. Let me show you how to get rid of that just in case you want to. So there we are, we're back. So to get rid of these pieces in here before we offset, we can come to the trace panel, trace by color, and get that white. Okay, and then I can go ahead and say trace and detach, and I can pull that right off. And trace by color, same thing here. Trace and detach, get rid of it so I can delete those. Okay, so now we're back to the three pieces at once. So I can grab all three of these with this selection tool and come over here to offset, and I can change the offset to white, and I can change the line color to white if I'd like. Okay, so once again I see something, the legs are fine. See, there's no open holes anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and center that again and group. And this is fine. I'm just going to Control G or Command G to group it. This is the one that's a little messed up. See all these little holes? All these little holes will be cut with your cutting machine. So what I'm going to do is right click on it and say release the compound path. That puts boxes around everything that makes this thing up. And then I'm going to say right click and weld. Okay, now again we have this little section here, if we look closely, that looks like it's going to cut way down in there, and I'm not sure I think that's necessary. So again, I can double click on this to get the nodes back. And these nodes, once I click on them and become white, they're active. Means I can act on them. And the action I'm doing is hitting the delete key on my keyboard to delete some of these nodes. Okay, I could leave that one if I want to, but this is a crazy little cut right there. So maybe I'll just get rid of it. Okay, there we go. So let's see what it's going to look like now when we put these leaves back on there. And I think that's going to look just fine. I'll group them both together and center them. And then I'm just going to say group. So they will have that white in there as I thought. All right, let's scroll back out. Okay, the only two things I have left to do were those, or three, were these things that were a little bit weird, like the one that was be still and no. So I'm going to go ahead and put an offset on that. But I might put a larger offset on it so that all the pieces kind of run together. So like that, maybe it may be too big, but just for today's purposes, we'll leave it like that. And I'll take off the red line color. So again, if I move this off, you can see holes in here that probably don't need to cut. So I would right click on it, say release the compound path. These were all where all the little holes were that were going to be cut. That won't be anymore because I'm going to weld them all together. And if you remember my Cricut classes, welding things is kind of like melting them, and then they harden back up together and there's no more individual pieces of it. So let's see, here's this crazy one right here. What I thought I would do with this one is try this. Try coming over here and getting a rectangle. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle and put it behind these. So I'm going to right click and say send it to the back. I'm going to see if I have it pretty well centered, and I do. Let's see. So I'm going to change this box to white. And there we go. And then I would just grab both of these and say group. Okay. And for this one, this is two separate pieces that I grouped together. So I would do the same thing again probably, because it's kind of hard to do a offset on something like this. So I'm going to send this to the back, the blue, so I can see where it's located. And then all I have to do is, once I'm happy with how it's centered, I'm going to go ahead and change the blue thing to white and take both of these and group them. Okay, final thing I have to show you for Cricut Design Space. These are fine like this if we're going to print and cut them in Silhouette. Let me change my mat so it's the other way. Come up here and set up. No, right here's where you do it. See orientation? I want it like that. Okay. Okay, so if I was doing this in my portrait or my Cameo machine, I would have to come up here and turn on the registration marks. If I don't do that, it's not going to know where these things are, and it's not going to be able to cut them. Then I could just fit in here as many as I could. And another helpful thing is to come over here on the first box and turn on your print and cut borders, so you make sure you don't go out of those borders. But then you can put all these in here just like this, and make duplicates of things if you'd like. This one I'd have to spin around like this. If I hold my shift key down, it kind of spins in nice straight lines. This one's another one I'll spin. But you can just see how you can put these on here pretty easily. Oopsie. But for Cricut Design Space now, what I'm going to do, and I'll show you right now, is I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle the size that we can use over in Cricut for our print and cuts. Okay, so there's that. She's not going to fit. But for the print and cuts over in Cricut Design Space, awfully big foot, and I could be resizing these. Maybe I want them to be a certain size, 1.5 inches wide for this, maybe 2 inches tall. It's a little big. But anyway, for Cricut Design Space, I'll come over here and get a rectangle and just draw a little rectangle. Then I would come up here, unlock the lock, and make the width, see, 6.75 and hit enter, and the height 9.25, because that's how big we can use in Cricut Design Space for these things. And then I would just start, send this, right click and send this one to the back. So as I bring these over, what is that little dot? I don't want it. Come here, you. Delete. All right. As we bring these over here, oh, I don't have a white on this offset. Can you notice that the offset is still like there? Oops. Hang on. You know what I need to do first, though, guys, before I can change the offset color? I need to ungroup these so that I just get the offset. And now I can change the offset to white. Okay, I'm going to change the offset to white. Get rid of that piece. And then I'm going to grab both these and group them. Okay, so what I'm doing is just filling in this space over here that we have for print and cut with Cricut Design Space. So I just put as many things as I can on this sheet without having them overlap or touch. Okay, it looks like we might just like to save these 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 things for the next page. So what I would do now is grab all this and move this out of the way. Grab all of these and group them. And with them still selected, I would come up here to File, Save Selection, because I don't want to save all this stuff to Cricut because it'll mess it up. Save selection to my hard drive. Kristen for Cricut. I think this is about my 3rd one, so I'll put 3. I'm not going to save it as a studio file. I'm going to save it as a PNG file and say OK. If you don't have that option, that means you don't have the Silhouette Business Edition. So notice I checked transparent and I said save. So let's go to Cricut Design Space now. And go to File. Whoops. Go to New Project. New Project. Upload. Upload an image. Browse. Let's see. Kristen for Cricut 3. There it is. Complex. Continue. There it is. Continue. I don't want to just cut. I want to print then cut. Okay, and there it is. I'll add it to my canvas. Okay, and this is how beautiful it is. And if we say make it, notice there aren't any warnings or anything that come up because we knew exactly what size we could make this for print then cut in Cricut. And you may be wondering, well, how do I know where those white borders are or the offsets? Remember this trick? Come down to where it says blank canvas here. Click on that. And then come up here and change this color swatch to anything you like. And there you can see. So now if we scroll in, you can see, whoopsie, that there are nice white offsets around each one of these, and that's what's going to be cutting. So I hope this helped you, and I hope that if you want to make a bunch of really cute Bible journaling stickers, that you'll check out this Etsy shop, Jubilant Studio, because I think she has some really super cute things in here. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.